All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So, hello everyone. I hope that everyone is doing well, enjoying I guess everyone enjoyed your long weekend, even though it feels like we've been on an extended long weekend. I hope you had time to enjoy the celebrations, festivities, and so forth. But we're actually going to get down to business on behalf of the SBDC. We want to welcome you, the SBDC. If you have not signed up for any of the no-cost consulting, please, I encourage you to do so. They have everything from marketing to finance. They work, PTAC, government contracting, and we'll highlight all of the other things that they do as we continue moving forward. I also want to thank Brianna for putting these webinars together and for always keeping us on point for what it is. Sometimes we have a couple of meetings throughout the week just to figure out how to make all this run smoothly. So we want to thank everybody that actually took time of their day, busy schedule to be on. So today we're actually going to be talking about how to get back on track. One of the main things that we keep looking at and that the businesses continue telling us and asking us is for more resources. What is it that they need to do and so forth. We do have a couple of panelists. Julio is going to try to get on the call. He actually had a customer that he was actually working with and so forth. It extended the time that he was going to be there, but that's right. I do have his contact information. If he gets on, we'll get him on. But without further ado, let's go ahead and give Karen an opportunity to highlight who she is, what she does, and then we'll turn it over to Mr. Mohandas.
Hi, my name's Karen Vieira. I'm owner of a business called the Med Writers. We are a medical writing agency. We're a team of mostly doctors and scientists, and we write all types of technical and marketing documents. We have been able to keep going during the COVID-19 pandemic. It's been speed bumps as everybody else's business has had, but hopefully I can share some information that's helpful for you today.
All right, and thank you, Karen. And Mr. Mohandas, Raju.
Hi, good morning. My name is Raju Mohandas. I'm a consultant with SBDC at FIU. My background is more on the conventional access to capital. I've been a controller and CFO, and I've also had my own business. So I come from the practical side of the banking or lending or operational of the business. I had my company for 12 years and we were ranked top 100. After that, I did a lot of lending. So right now I'm working with the SBDC to help small business transition to and keep growing their business.
And thank you, Raju. And Raju and Karen are two of the people that I actually reach out to whenever I have specific needs. One of the things that we encourage businesses is to actually build relationships with other entities, with other businesses, because being an entrepreneur is a lonely journey and we all need someone. Julio actually assists and helps with everything that's got to do with IT, networking, and so forth. And I think that that's one of the main things that for us as business owners, knowing what it is that you go through and knowing that the best way that we can actually provide any added value is by not only talking about our own personal experiences, but also to give you practical information for a couple of things. Number one, to educate. The other thing is to keep you motivated, because I know that mentally there's so many things that are going on right now that what we need to do is that we need to rely on one another, definitely for strength and encouragement, but also for resources and information. I thoroughly enjoy putting these webinars together in partnership with the SBDC. And one of the things that we're looking for is to answer your questions. So please feel free to ask questions in the Q&A. Something that Karen always talks about and encourages is for you to put in your business and what it is that you do, what your business entails, so that we can go ahead and get help you and answer as many questions as we can. So one of the things that we actually like to ask is for you as business owners to ask yourself some questions. Some of the things that we've been talking about is, where does your business currently stand during COVID-19? Has it affected you? I know that there's two types of businesses: those that actually had to shut down completely, those that actually started expanding and growing because the opportunity was there. But one of the key things that we want to make sure is that we want you to take an in-depth look inside yourself and in your business and ask yourself some of these questions. I know that Brianna is actually going to share the presentation and also the link for the actual webinar, and they're going to put it actually on their YouTube channel. But one of the things that we want to make sure for you as a business owner, are you ready to start shifting and changing your mindset when it comes to getting back on track? Why? Because there's a lot of business owners that they're so used to doing the day-to-day, the same thing. And right now, we're going to have to start making changes within our own business, especially if you're a brick and mortar or you are actually online restaurant, anything out there that you can actually start implementing and changing. That's what we actually want to talk about. I don't know, Raju and Karen, if you wanted to have them ask any other questions of themselves, but please feel free. Karen?
I'll let Raju go first. I saw he unmuted.
Oh, Raju. Well, Raju's been unmuted. He didn't.
Oh, okay. All right, then I'll go first.
He cheated.
So for me in my business, trying to get back on track, there's been a lot of questions I've asked myself. So, I mean, it would be too many to go through in this one slide, but a few of the very important ones had to do with understanding my marketing, what money I was spending on what, and what results I was getting for that money. So that's on the marketing side. And then on the client side, I went through my entire client life cycle and said, okay, here's the points where leads come in, here's where they convert, what are our conversion rates, and how do we increase that? Because sometimes you don't need more customers. Sometimes you just need more work from the same customers you already have. So we really focused in during this pandemic on understanding the numbers, tracking where we were with our marketing and what was giving us results. If it's not giving us results, it got cut. And the things that were giving us results got more of our money and our time. And then on the client side, we found several different points where we could jump in and do more with our clients to keep our clients or existing clients giving us more work, so we didn't have to spend more marketing dollars. So those were some things that we were asking ourselves when we were like, we got to get back on track.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing it. And Raju, I know that you and I have talked extensively about this, and a lot of the businesses that you're working with and a lot of the businesses that I have the pleasure of working with as well. Share some of the things that you've actually seen.
Yeah, I've been lucky that I've been involved with the businesses in all three areas, whether it be sales, operation, and obviously the finance and admin type. And all of them have, in some form, have been affected in operational wise, how you deliver the services. But this is where the sales portion comes in. The sales portion comes in how am I going to get that new customer? The marketing and the marketing expenditure, just like Karen said, we need to be able to evaluate in a shorter time if a campaign or something is working. The time frame, you do not have the time frame you had in the past because you need quick and fast results. Operationally wise, you need to keep making sure that you deliver that extra service, especially with all of these COVID-19 conditions that have added to your business. And then obviously on the admin and finance is managing whatever money you got, whether it be the IDA loan, whether it be the PPP loans, and managing and just contain the cost. Other than reducing costs, sometimes you also want to maintain expenditure. You want to keep a maintenance of expenditure. You have to kind of look at it, how the money is moving. Okay, and where is it moving?
Yeah, and I think that that's one of the things that a lot of businesses, and we encourage you, because I had to do the same thing. I had to do a self-assessment of where my business was at and what I needed to do in order to move forward. And mind you, I'm a saver. I like to save. But I do sit back and realize that I was making expenses or spending money that I really didn't need. And I think that that's one of the things that as business owners, where can you come in and trim the fat and eliminate? And we've actually done a workshop on trimming the fat when it comes to marketing. But I do believe that that's something that you have to start asking yourself. So let's talk about a couple of things. right now, especially when it comes to actually a business assessment. One of the things that we are encouraging businesses to do now is make an assessment of where your sales numbers are at right now, your products, your marketing, everything, where it's at, and make an assessment actually and ask yourself, where are we bleeding? Where are we spending too much money? Where's the overhead? I know that there's a lot of businesses that I've spoken to that they just had the realization that they could actually run their business by way of home or another area, that they don't have to have a brick and mortar, but they had to actually stop and make that assessment. So that's one of the things that we are actually encouraging businesses to stop and not overthink everything, but stop and start thinking and get more of a bird's eye view of where is your business at today and where was it before COVID started, and where did the changes come in and take place. Listen, I'm one of the people that I got rid of cable a long time ago because I was paying, an exuberant amount of money and I really didn't need it. And I was just changing and flipping channels. So I started cutting a while back. So that's one of the things that you have to come in and say, where can I actually stop the bleeding? Karen, I saw that you unmuted yourself. So
yeah, for me in my business, I'm always on top of my numbers, because I learned that from Raju. Because the first time that Raju asked me for my numbers, I was like, what numbers? That was many years ago. I'm much better. I have QuickBooks. I have a bookkeeper, an accountant. Thanks, Raju. So for me, I'm always on top of my numbers, but yet with this pandemic, I got even more on top of the numbers. So before, I was looking at top line numbers. Here's my revenue. Here's, my gross profit margin, my operating profit. Those are big numbers. Go deep. I had to go deep. I had to say, okay, what are we spending on this? What are we spending on that? And go category by category, even deeper, because sometimes on your P&L, and if you don't know what P&L is, call Raju. Okay. But if, the categories in your P&L don't go deep. It's just very vague. And I had to really sit and look at things expense by expense. Where are we spending money that we could cut back? Is this giving us the return on our investment? We actually upped our marketing dollars. So it's not that we stopped spending. We just started spending smarter. And I encourage people to really go deep with their numbers. And it hurts. If you one of the business owners that are not spending time in your numbers, you're like, what numbers, Karen? This is the time. This is your wake up call. Like, I'm telling you right now, like, get QuickBooks, get a bookkeeper, get on top of your numbers, know what's happening in your business on at least a month to month basis, if not a week to week basis. You need to see what your revenue looks like, what your expenses look like. And this has been the best thing for me ever. This pandemic has made me very aware. And when I look at where we are, we're still growing. We're growing like crazy. We're just not growing at the rate that I wanted to be growing at this year for my growth plan that I made long before there was a pandemic. So I've had to be reasonable too in my assessment. I don't want to just sit here and cry because I'm not where I want to be. But I've had to really dig in and say, how can we still grow despite this or with this, because there are opportunities to grow.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because one of the things that we were working with a lot of businesses, that when it came time to look for funding, either through the EIDL loan or the PPP, they couldn't qualify because they did not have the actual records that were needed in order to apply. So I think that this is actually, what helped a lot of businesses come in and be taken serious as a small business, as an entrepreneur, because I know that a lot of businesses, when you come in and you ask questions, well, no, I'm just paying myself cash. Well, I'm paying my employees under the table, or I'm paying this, or I'm paying that. One of the things that has to happen within your business is that you have to shift the way that you think and the way that you do business in order to be able to scale and grow and expand. Now, if you just want to be a business that you can pay your bills, your mortgage, your kids' school, whatever it is, that's okay. But you still have to be mindful of what it is that you're doing and understand all of the numbers that it comes to sales and what you're spending and so forth. So Raju, I know that you have a lot to say about this.
Well, a lot of you businesses will find that you'll have to do a third assessment. A lot of you already have PPP money. You got money there. but they're all ending also. Okay, that are all coming. A lot of businesses are finding that they're in the tail end of that PPP money. So now they're going to have to look at trimming the fat and the burn rate. You got to look if your business is actually sustainable under this environment. Otherwise, you're going to have to do another business assessment of saying, hey, what do I need to do moving forward, because I don't have that extra cash that was coming in. If you got the idle loan, you got some more money to carry you forward. But remember, the idle loan is a loan that you have to pay over time, which is great. And you got 30 years to pay, but that has to be part of your cash flow, and you've got to see how you're going to do it. So you got to, again, look at your business. You look at your sales number. You look how many products you have, how many SKUs you have. Are they all producing, or do I need to scale down, or I need to pivot to other types of SKUs that I can bring in, or services or product? Okay, if you're losing money, even with the PPP in place, well, without it, you're going to lose a lot more. Okay, so now you got to stop and look at it from that perspective. You say, I know, and it just came out yesterday, United Airlines is going to follow or lay off 20,000 people. There was another bankruptcy coming. They had got help from the government also, but they also realized that their business model and their assessment internally, even with all of that, is not able to. And I was talking to my wife this morning, and one of the conversations was that at least these big companies do these assessments, and they do it regularly, update them. Small businesses do not do it until it's too late, when they already have a big hole that they got to plug and they can't do it. So it's good that you do all of these assessments now, and you'll have to do one right after the PPP money runs out. So you better start working on it right now to make sure that you are able to sustain your business model, financial business model, with the way you're doing it right now.
Yeah, and one of the things that we're actually working on also, just as an FYI for those of you that are actually on the webinar, we are working on a couple of other webinars from the PPP and the loan forgiveness application and so forth, so that we can actually simplify that for you. So one of the things that we have to actually assess is the financial damage that this has actually caused you. If in fact it has actually caused any type of financial damages, you have to know your current numbers. When we sit down and we start talking to businesses and you start asking, hey, well, what do your numbers look like? All I know is that I have money in the bank. Well, that's not a really good answer, because a lot of times we get into trouble when we assume that we have all of this money, but we're not looking at the overhead, the cost of goods sold, operation and labor. I know that a lot of businesses right now have had to come in and make an assessment of their business and the financial damage, because some businesses did go out and apply for some of these, loans, especially the PPP loan, and a lot of their employees didn't come back because they were getting more money when it came to unemployment and so forth. So I think that one of the things that you have to look at as a business owner is being very candid and honest with yourself, because our goal is to make sure that you stay in business, but not only stay in business, you actually thrive and scale and grow in 2020, 2021, whatever your goal is. And the reason why we're putting a lot of these webinars together is to help save as many businesses as we possibly can, because we know that this is going to affect a lot of businesses. So one of the things that we ask and encourage, maybe it's coming into Karen's point. She spent a little bit more money on marketing to let people know that, number one, she was still open, she was still available, she was still doing work. And you need to ask yourself, where is it that we're allocating these funds, and what is it that we need to eliminate? What is it that we need to get rid of? We were actually paying for a service that since last year, 2 years, we used it. Last year, we stopped using it. And I can tell you that we were somewhat careless, because we sent an email to cancel it, and they never canceled it. And when I look at the numbers from the bank in February, they were charging us, and they charged us again. So we wrote to the company, and the company's like, oh no, you signed a contract. So I went directly to the bank and I canceled, because there was no reason for us to pay for a service that we were not using. And I think that one of the main things that you have to look at is, what is it that you're actually spending on right now that you may say, this is what's actually causing a damage within the company. And Raju, since you didn't unmute yourself, I'm just gonna let you go ahead and answer, and talk a little bit,
Okay.
And then
Okay.
we'll explain the rules to you, Raju. You mute
Huh?
yourself. You unmute yourself. I know you want to talk, you know,
Okay. No
but
problem.
that's all right. Go
Okay.
ahead, Raju.
Well, one of the things when you look at your current numbers and your sales, you got to see from which revenue stream is coming. You have a business has different revenue streams. You got to start looking at it even from a revenue stream. Okay, this one is producing so much. This is how much it's costing me. My cost of goods sold is on this. This is how much my gross margin is this. You have to start looking at from that, because right now it is after the we are still in the coronavirus crisis, and the way it looks, it's not going to go out real soon. So you have to kind of project that this is going to be going for another 3 months or maybe even 6 months right now, or at least till the end of the year. And if that's the case, you got to make sure you will have a new break even. You start creating a new break even, and obviously you're going to try to tighten up your operation and labor. Overhead sometimes it's tough because those are long-term leases with rents and this, so you can reduce some of it. But what we want to do right now is not to go crazy over that as much as maintain and lower or cap it as much as you can. Is what we call maintenance. You maintain the cost structure on your overhead so it doesn't get out of hand. And if you can lower it, bring it down. What you can play with is obviously your cost of goods sold, you can operational and labor. And most businesses, cost of goods sold will be 50, 60, 70% of that dollar that comes in. So you rather concentrate on that 60, 70% and what you can do to kind of tighten up there to bring the break even to a more management level. Okay, so I'm one that always likes to spend money on marketing. I still need that dollar coming in, but I want that dollar coming in where I can make money. Very few finance people will say, let's go spend money on marketing, but you have to be responsible. You have to kind of have a timetable. You have to have some benchmarks and things that need to happen for that expense to be justified.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, Raju, because one of the things that I tell businesses, a lot of businesses think that they're going to scale and grow because more money that they have. Well, guess what? If nobody knows that your business exists and nobody knows that what you products or services you provide, then there's no reason for any amount of money that you're going to get out there. So marketing is vital, and creating a game plan and understanding what those numbers look like and what your expectations are to when it comes to marketing, that's extremely vital. Karen.
Yeah, I'm going to even go deeper than what Raju said. I'll give you an example. In my business, what we did recently was in QuickBooks, we were categorizing the different services we provide based on what it was. So as we create an invoice, it said, you know, each different product. So for example, we might write a proposal for somebody. We might write a grant application. We might write an article. We might write a blog post, a white paper. And so we had product types of here's what we produced. But we went a step further and we started now categorizing not just the type of work we're doing, but the type of client it is. Because we said, well, what are the more profitable types of projects? But now we're saying, what are the more profitable types of clients? And by going a step deeper, and categorizing every single one of our clients and saying, okay, here's pharmaceutical companies, here's healthcare companies, here's startup businesses, here's medical devices, here's supplement businesses. We're able to see which of those categories of clients are really giving us the best bang for our buck. And then we sat with our marketing guy and said, okay, how do we get more of these? Because these are making us the money and we want more of them. So this is being very, very strategic with your thinking and really using your numbers to figure out where the problem areas are, because there's certain types of clients that we've decided we have to raise our prices or get rid of them because we're not going to keep them at the current level they're at. They're just not making us enough money. It's not worth it to spend our money trying to get more of them, and it's not worth it to keep servicing them at the prices we're charging them. And these are the kinds of things that we wouldn't know if we didn't go deeper with the numbers. And so if, you know, like I said already, if you're not going deep, you've got to go deep. This is the time to really dig into your QuickBooks or whatever accounting you're using and figure this stuff out. It absolutely is what's going to save your business, turn it around, and and bring it to the point of thriving for sure.
Yeah, and I think that there's nothing more satisfying that once you have that aha moment and to come to the realization that you had to fire some clients that unfortunately you were spending more money in trying to keep them than actually providing those services. And Raju's laughing because he's known for that. I think I think that that's one of the main things as a business owner. Listen, this is your business. I've had people that have come to me and I know that they're not a good fit. And imagine if you're spending 15, 20 hours on that one client, and you may sit back and say, you know, but they're actually bleeding us dry, but you're not taking the time to focus on those actual clients that are actually good customers that are actually paying and so forth. So it's important to make that assessment. And one of the key things is you have to review your current operations. I know that everything right now is changing. The processes right now, for those of you that actually have staff, that they're working from home. We actually did a webinar last week, and it was Take Your Business Virtual. And if you haven't seen that, I know that it's available on the SBDC YouTube channel. But you have to make an assessment of that. What are you going to keep in-house? Doesn't make sense for you to actually outsource something that is going to be easier, that you probably are paying someone a salary, you're paying them 40 hours, and this is probably something that can be done in 10 hours. Once you make that assessment and you can decide, hey, I'm going to outsource this because it's going to be easier, or maybe evaluate the functions of someone that's a freelancer. Someone that you can come in and let's say maybe you need someone to help you with your marketing. You probably have someone in-house that's helping you do that, or maybe you have someone that's helping you with your finance, bookkeeping, and so forth. The one thing is that you have to make that assessment for yourself, and you need to review the current operations. And the one thing that I always encourage, and we've been talking about, fine-tune that. You have to know the ins and outs of your business. And then this is actually also going to help you. I know that for me, COVID actually just opened up doors for a new revenue stream, that everybody wanted to come in and do more webinars. And even though I was doing webinars 3-4 years ago, that right now it's become the in thing because that's how we're communicating and talking. So I think that one of the main things right now, that during these times of uncertainties, it's imperative that you come in and make these reviews. Why? Because as you sit down, you can't be idle. I know that there's a couple of people that when I talk to them, they're either standing in front of the refrigerator trying to figure out what they need to eat, or they're actually, it's sitting in front of a computer ordering items, because I see the Amazon and the UPS and FedEx driving in front of my house continuously. So I'm like, well, there's some people in my neighborhood that have money to spend. And then you sit back and you calculate some people that are actually sitting in front of TV and they're binge watching. I think that a lot of businesses need to take this time to process and go back to basics, as why did you start business and what were you doing with your business when you first started, and come back to that first love, come back to that first passion, to what was it that you were doing and what did you want to implement that you never had the time to implement that you're actually can implement right now. So that's why it's extremely important that you review where your current operations are at. Karen.
Yeah, I think one of the things that was important for me is putting things on paper, or if you're not a paper person, putting things in a document, or a spreadsheet or whatever. Because what we were able to do is really look at every piece. And I have a lady that works with me who's genius with this. And Orlando has a friend who does the same kind of thing, Samantha Jade. If you look her up, she does the same thing. She's genius with this. She sits and she's helped me think things through in terms of we either do it on Post-it notes, here's Post-it notes, or here's, like a PowerPoint flow chart or whatever. But step one, the client comes in, they call, they do this, they send this, what's next? Who does what piece? And we look at every single piece as a standalone. And we say, is this necessary? Is it being done most efficiently? Is there a way to automate this? And we can evaluate every single piece of the service we're providing to our customers, and then optimize, get rid of, improve, phase out, and by seeing your whole process in a step-by-step fashion, then you're able to really see where the inefficiencies are, where the opportunities are, where the ideas that you've had over the years and maybe didn't implement could come in and really fix things up and improve things. So I really recommend going through things in a stepwise fashion. And good old Post-it notes. I always have a whole stack of them here in my drawer. I have all different colors. These are the tiny ones. I have the big ones. I have all different sizes. And we will lay out a process just by scribbling, okay, step 1, customer walks in the door. Step 2, they're greeted by X person. And that way you know what you're doing, you know who's doing what, when, how, and you can fix it then. You can't fix it if you don't know what it is. So I really recommend doing that.
Yeah, and that's good. And listen, Post-it for me are vital. You don't see them in the back of my wall right now because I remove a lot of them, but I think that that's vital just to come in and see where you're at. Raju.
Well, Karen put it really great. Process. You need to look at the process, and not only the operational side, but also the sales process. Because there's a sales process that you go through, and then at one moment it goes into the operation, and it goes through the operation, and then it transitions over to the finance and admin people who are managing it from the back end. So all of those processes, and when you start breaking them down, you start kind of look at it. What can we do in this? Can we do something different here? And once you do this, you'll be surprised that new revenue streams can come up. Oh, what happened if we pivot this way? What happened if we do this? What happened if we tried this? Suddenly your new possible revenue stream can be created just by looking at the whole process and breaking down that process. Now, you have to be very honest with yourself when you do the process and actually delineate, like Karen said, whether it be post-it, whatever method you use, the actual step that you go through, the phases, who is going to be doing it, what is the expectations from that one step, what are we trying to accomplish by the time we get here, how long it goes through. When you start breaking those down operationally, sales and admin wise, you will be able to outsource. Oh, this thing we can outsource. But we don't really need to pay this much to do this, but this one we need to have it in-house. And that's how you start breaking down what portion of that process can be outsourced, in-house, your human resources requirements, how many people are really need to do all of this. And remember, right now, if you're going to survive this the next 3, 6, however long this crisis go, you got to start looking at how you're going to become more efficient in some form and really quick, because I hate to say the PPP money is going to run out, and you don't want to create more debt in the companies, because that is an extra weight. That is adding overhead like you won't believe. You know, it's something that you cannot get rid of as quickly.
Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah.
just to, you have to kind of look at it fast if you haven't done it yet or started working on it.
Yeah, and I think that that's one of the main things that you have to look at within your own business, what it is, what does it entail? And to your point, I know that Kimani actually was asking about this. So how to adapt your marketing? What is it that you're actually doing, and what is it that you can do? So her question was, it seems customers are suffering from information overload from everyone, that they're being inundated with advertisement. How did you actually face this problem, and how did you actually stand out? I guess, Karen, I'll ask you specifically, and then I'll add a couple of things.
Yeah, so I think it really depends on where you were before the pandemic with your customers. So if you had a customer base that was loyal and you have their information, however you're used to communicating with them, then it's important to keep close communication with them. So for us, we have clients that we've been working with for many years. We have their email address, we have their phone number, and we were able to very quickly send some emails out, check on people, see how they were doing via phone calls, and really just stay close, letting them know what we were working on, other services that we were providing that we hadn't been before, but we now were providing because many of our clients were asking for. And so it depends on where you were before. Like I said, how do you normally communicate? And you want to jump in and communicate in a way that they're comfortable with. So for example, there's restaurants that I've ordered from in the past and they have my phone number. I've gotten texts that say, we are open for takeout and delivery. and here's a coupon for 20% off, you know, whatever. And I wasn't normally getting text messages from them, but they had my phone number and it works. So it really depends what information you have for your customers that you can actually communicate with them directly versus doing the very general marketing, advertising type of messages where you get lost. I feel like you get lost with the crowd.
Yeah, and I think that what's one of the main things that you want to adapt is by listening to your customers, listening to what's going on there, listening to what specifically they want, they need. Listen, customers will tell you what they want. They want to be made to feel as though they can actually assist and help, that someone can actually help them answer questions. And sometimes it's not about selling. Sometimes it's about building that relationship. I know that right now, for a lot of customers, a lot of family members, if they have a doctor's appointment, or my nieces, that they're going actually to a hair salon or nail salon, they want to know specifically what is it that they're doing in order for them to be able to make an appointment. So a lot of the places that they go to, they just decided that, hey, we're not going to come in and go to a place where we may not feel comfortable if you don't have certain things in place. So I think that if you definitely want to stand out, definitely you have to listen, you have to pay attention to what customers are telling you, and listen to everyone, because it can't be a one-sided conversation. I was going to answer a question from someone that wrote something and they didn't give us a chance to answer because they signed off. And that's pretty much what we're talking about. You cannot, as a business owner, assume and think that you know everything and that you're going to continue doing everything like you were doing it before. You have to be willing to listen to. Now, this is the point where we were marketing and telling the customers what they wanted. Now the customers are actually telling us what they need, and how can we actually market to them in order to assist and help. And I wish you would have stayed online, Chris, but unfortunately you had to log off. But I will encourage people to come in and look at what are your customers telling you? How can you come in and help them and then stand out? I think that for the point of what Karen said and what I've been doing, I've been calling customers, and I wasn't calling them to sell anything to them. I was just building a relationship with them and letting them know specifically, how are you? What are you doing? How's your family? How's your friend? Because everybody wants to know that someone actually cares for them and you're not just trying to sell something to them. Raju, anything that you want to add?
Well, no, you both covered a lot of the points, and you have to listen to your customer. Their needs have changed. My needs from my suppliers, whether it be a restaurant or even go to a retailer if I want to, has changed. So suddenly you need to find out, and you have to build that relationship with that client somehow, you know, and knowing what they want, knowing what worries them, knowing what is important to that client will help you bridge that gap and create that relationship. Now more than ever is building that relationship and telling them we are here for you. You need them more than they need you at this point. Okay, you have to look at it from that perspective. Right now, customers are very few and apart, and it will start getting tighter as the economy settles in after all of this money that has been given. I hate to even point those out, but that money is going to dry up, or we'll have to pay it down the line. You know, if they keep giving more money, some or the other, those bills will come due. Now, it will be through taxes or some other things, but that is going to change in the next few years. So it's just a matter of how you position your business to manage that in the future and take advantage of, build those relationships that you can build. And marketing is one big piece that you're going to have to use to get to that point.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things, we were actually doing a webinar focused on guerrilla marketing. And one of the suggestions, someone actually had asked a question. They're in tourism, and one of the things that they were actually talking about is that they do sales, and it's either flights or cruises. So Daniel was on the call, and he was giving some suggestions of, hey, he wanted to see the NASA launch, and he would have loved to have known which hotels he could have gone to that were taking precautions and that they were, taking everyone's safety in mind and so forth. And this was something that we were actually sharing because I think that the best way to come in and analyze is where are people at in this current moment? Are people flying? Are people taking cruises? Are people actually going out and dining? Those are things that right now you have to look at, because you've got a 50-50 that there's people that say, hey, I'm not leaving my house. And those that are ordering and having everything delivered to their home. There's other people that are actually putting on their masks. They're going home. Some people are going out and doing other things. So my suggestion is, for those of you that in your industry, listen to what it is that your customers are telling you. Don't listen to what everybody else is saying you. We're telling you right now, talk to them, find out what are the specific needs, and see how you can actually adapt your marketing. And one of the main things that we keep talking about is consider technology. I know that for a lot of business owners, their biggest fear is, you know what, losing control. How do I come in and know that my employees are actually working? If I actually have to send them home, how can I track? So we've been talking about having a hybrid model. For those of you that actually have a business that you're still running from a brick and mortar, those that actually may be online, virtual. One of the things is there's a lot of programs and there's a lot of things out there where you can measure productivity. You can actually have a remote team, people that you work with. Document sharing, I know that whenever we do any webinars or workshops or anything like that, we always use Google Docs in order to make updates, changes, and so forth, so that everyone can see that. The one thing is that you have to put certain, implement certain aspects of technology within your business if you had not done it before, in order to ensure that you get back on track, because maybe that was what was lacking in your business before. There was no type of, let's say, adjustments, and you actually weren't holding your staff employees accountable for what it was that they were supposed to do when it came to the work that they were supposed to do and so forth. So I think that that's extremely vital. Karen.
Yeah, I mean, I could speak on this for a long time, and Orlando and I recently did a whole webinar on it, which was called Take Your Business Virtual, because for some people, they're able to take their business 100% virtual. And if you're in the service industry where you don't actually need an office, you might like an office, don't get me wrong, but you don't need one. In this time right now, this is the time to really sharpen your skills, your team skills, and get your technology game together. Because, you know, we went through a lot of things in that webinar, but some of the things we talked about is you've got to have a project management system where you're seeing who's working on what. You can assign things. It's very clear, due dates, files, everything are all in one place. And at a bird's eye view, you can see everything that's happening in your business, who's working on what, when's it due, what are the questions, what are the issues that are coming up. And for that, my company, we use Asana, but there's so many different ones out there. The other thing you really need to have in terms of technology is a CRM. A CRM, if you don't know what it is a place that you store all of your information as leads come in, and you track them through your sales cycle. So you have follow-up scheduled, you go ahead and you know when somebody presents an opportunity to you, what's the dollar amount for that opportunity, when are you forecasting that you'll be able to actually close a deal with them and get started, and you track the whole life cycle. We track our projects in there as well, and you're able to, in one place, look and see, here's all the people who have contacted us, here's where they are. You know, if you think about moving a football down the football field, from the time somebody contacts you till the time they actually pay you for something, it's a process, and the CRM helps you to track that process. In my business, we use Pipedrive. We also have used Insightly, but there's tons of them. People are using HubSpot. People are using so many different CRMs. There's tons of them out there. And then the other piece, which Orlando talked about just now, is document sharing. If you're working virtually, or even if you're not necessarily remote, but you need to be able to be more flexible with your business and have things stored in a place where everybody can find it. It doesn't have to be like, oh, it's all on this person's computer. Then I really highly recommend using Google Drive. That's what we use in my business, and we have all of our files in there, all of our templates, all of our proposals that we send out, just, you know, the whole system of how to run the business is all stored in Google Drive. So if I have a new hire, I can very quickly share certain folders in Google Drive, and they can very quickly go in there and read the whole process. Here's how to, and I document things not just in writing, but also with video. And then Here's a link to that video. Watch the video. That's a screen capture of how to do it. So those types of things are things right now, if you're not busy in your business, to consider getting those things set up, because you want to poise yourself that when things get back busy, you're running more efficiently, you're running leaner. So, I mean, we have to make up for the fact that if you lost revenue, if you had to close, that when you get back up and running, you want to make sure that you're being more efficient so that every single dollar that comes in, more of it is going to your profit. You want more of that to end up in your pocket. So these are the things to consider.
Yeah, and one thing that you don't want to have is a one-sided business. And when I refer to one-sided is that, you know, there's someone that knows this and the other person that doesn't know that. And having technology actually streamlines everything, that if you have a staff member that actually leaves, that doesn't come back, you know exactly what it was that they were doing, what they were working on, because everyone has access, or whomever you deem should have access to the information and so forth. I think that is ideal, because you don't want to come in and say, oh, listen, where was that file that I sent? You don't want your computer to crash. And then once it crashes, you have to come in and start looking for all those documents. Been there, done that. So I think that that's one of the main things that you have to look at and use technology for, to assist and help. Raju, I don't know if you want to add anything. If not, you're quiet. Go ahead.
No. Well, the only thing is, yeah, there are businesses and that technology may not solve everything. But when you do the process and you do all of those pieces, you can, in a way, find where you can move those things through the technology, or automate through technology. Remember, when you start breaking down everything that you do, it helps you. You may not want to do it for every single product line that you do, but at least do it for the top 3 to 5 to 10 product lines or services that you provide. And then you see how you can automate and see where you can use technology to your advantage.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that, Raju, because keep in mind, do this in phases. Don't overthink and say, oh, I'm going to make my entire business automated right now and just use technology. No, use it in phases and see where it actually makes sense. That's why we talk about a hybrid model, because we want to make sure that whatever it is that you're doing to get back on track, it works for you, your business, your industry, and what it is specifically that you're doing. And then once this is over and done with, create a contingency plan. Because listen, we're in South Florida. For a lot of you that you're on the actual call or the webinar, you may be throughout, South Florida and other locations in Florida and other states. But the one thing that I can tell you is that we're resilient. We've been through hurricanes and we prepare for the hurricanes, and we do have a contingency plan. And I know that a lot of organizations are talking about that. But one of the new things right now that you have to look at is a new financial model. What is it that you're spending? I believe that more and more companies, when we talk about cash is king, yes, cash is king, but I think that right now, what we need to talk about is savings. Savings is king, because you have to save. I know a lot of people that borrowed money from what's being offered, and they've gotten themselves more in trouble because they didn't do their due diligence, because they didn't have a plan as to, all right, well, I'm going to get the EIDL loan, but then I'm going to get the PPP loan, but then I'm going to get the Florida Bridge loan, and now I'm going to get the loan that the Miami-Dade County has. But also, I just found out that there's another loan that they're bringing out that is $30,000, and I think that people are borrowing more and more, but they don't have an actual plan as to what is it that they need to do. The one thing is you plan for the worst, but stay positive. I will encourage you. I've spoken to a lot of business owners that emotionally they're drained, because this is their livelihood. I get it. I understand that. I know that this isn't easy on a lot of you, but the one thing is that we want you to take this time not to get discouraged, but to get motivated. Learn from other industries, learn from other people, learn from your competitors, and see what's there, and figure out how you can actually start building relationships so that you don't have to navigate this by yourself, and actually talk with one another to see how you can actually help, and stay creative. This has been a great opportunity for a lot of businesses that we talk to be creative and to actually be able to move forward.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that I've seen is that a lot of businesses that were retail type models, office type models, where somebody comes in order to purchase, they've learned that there's got to be a different way to do business. If nobody's coming in, how do we offer delivery? How do we go online? How do we sell online? There's already, you know, so many channels where people are. You don't have to create a website if you didn't have one. I mean, yes, you should create one, but that can't be your primary focus right now, because right now you need sales. So it's where are people already buying? And a lot of people have found that they can get their products onto Amazon. They can offer their products on eBay, Etsy, Craigslist, Nextdoor, MeWe. It depends on who your audience is, who you're selling to. You know, if you're B2B, LinkedIn, like you don't even need a website. I know people that don't have a website and just have a LinkedIn page, and they're killing it on there. So it's, where are the people that could possibly buy from you, even if they're not local right now? And how do you get in front of them? Use the existing channels that are there. So that's what we mean by stay creative and learn from other industries and learn from your competitors, because there are people doing this stuff already. So look around, because I find when we get stuck and overwhelmed and upset, we put blinders on, we stick our head in the sand and don't really look. And we've got to really look. So we've been talking about really looking at your numbers, really looking at your marketing, really looking at your operations, but really looking around and see what's happening in the world around you, in your local region, in the country in general. What are other businesses doing that are successful, and how can you do something similar? And this is the time to be creative, to test out some of your ideas, but don't test them stupidly. Test them where you're paying attention and say, I'm spending X number of dollars. I'm going to try this for X number of days or weeks, and I'm going to see what my return on investment is. If this isn't paying for itself, we're going to cut it, because you're not going to keep spending money on something that's not working. So, but this is the time to test things, try things, be creative, talk to other business owners, see what other ideas you can come up with. I think that's key right now.
But wait, Karen, we've been doing this the same way forever. Why do we have to change now? Because times are changing.
Times have changed, not times are changing, you know, and this is the,
I agree.
If you haven't read the book, Who Moved My Cheese, you can read it in minutes. It was originally a children's book and they just adapted it and added some kind of lessons for adults. Read it, because our cheese has moved and we've got to adapt with it. And if you're not already adapting, you're suffering. So the world has changed. Please change with it.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that, because I think that that's one of the things. Read. If you haven't read a book, take the time to read something. I was actually talking to someone yesterday. We were talking a lot about this, and they're in the restaurant industry, and we were talking, and businesses actually picked up because they're doing more online delivery and pickups and so forth. So one of the simple questions that I asked, has your prices changed? What do you mean? What you're selling for people to come in and pick up at your doorstep, your place of business, can't be the same price that you're charging when it comes to Uber Eats or to Postmates or Grubhub, because they're actually going to kill your profits with the 30% that they charge. So a simple conversation like that. So you're going to have to up the prices for that actual, delivery service from the apps, as opposed to the prices that you may actually offer delivery, or that they can actually come in and pick up. I know people that are willing to get out of the house to go pick up something if they actually have, everything set up when it comes to safety and so forth. But something that minor in conversation, they had not thought about that. They had not taken that into consideration. So we were talking this morning, and they went back and looked at the numbers and realized that the numbers were not good, because the overhead was non-existent, because they were paying more money in those delivery apps than they actually were making when it comes to. That's why it's important to, look at your numbers, look at everything, and shift and change from some of the things that you're doing. I know businesses, actually restaurants, that actually stopped using the apps and actually were bringing in their employees and letting their employees go out and do all of the deliveries, because they were not actually opening up, for customers and so forth. So that's why we're talking about creative and being creative. Raju.
Well, you brought up a good point. There's a point there that says new financial model. You have to look at your new financial model. Your new reality will dictate what your financial model is today. And if you don't calculate all of those specific points or breakdowns, you will find yourself not making the money and actually running into the red. Okay, that's what you want to do. And one thing I have learned, and I'm very grateful on that for my past history, I have been in a lot of industries, so I can see what worked in one industry, and I have been able to use that over the years in other industries. Now more than ever, you need to kind of look what success is in another industry and see how you can use it or modify it internally. If you can use that, it's incredible, but that's how you become creative. You start looking at, hey, they're doing that. Why can't I do it here? And how I can use it here because that's a success for them. So is it possible to use it in our business? You know, and that's how you start being creative. This is how you pivot. This is how you create new revenue stream. This is how you open up something that you were very blocked in because you were doing fine before, you know.
Yeah, and I think that that's the main thing. So once all of this is over and done with, our goal is to actually start planning, and start identifying certain things. Once again, listen, we don't have all the answers. Nobody has all the answers, because if we did, then we wouldn't be sitting in a webinar and asking and inquiring and trying to figure out what's what. But the one thing is that identify opportunities where they may lie, have a game plan, definitely keep evolving, stay on top of trends. You know, to Karen's point, read. There's a lot of great books out there that you can actually read about shift and change, and why some people do the things that they do. But I will encourage you to stay informed and stay prepared, and go back to asking questions. So if anybody has any questions, please feel free, ask your questions. We want to encourage you to ask questions. We want to encourage you to actually share what's on your mind, your thoughts. Karen.
Yeah, I mean, let us know what challenges you're dealing with, because maybe we didn't go in depth on a topic that would have addressed exactly what you're dealing with. We're happy to help. We all have years of expertise, and we're happy to share it. We're here sharing it for free. So take advantage, put in the Q&A, you know, what is your business? What is your business dealing with right now? What's been your biggest challenge? What are you doing? Anything, and let us, you know, be able to help you with that, because that's the whole reason why we're here.
Yeah. And one of the main things also, keep in mind, if you feel like, hey, listen, we can't ask right now because we're swamped, or we have other activities or other things because you're still running a business, we want to provide our email addresses. So you can actually send us an email if you do have any questions that we didn't answer. And like I said, what we do with these webinars is more so to give you a general overview when it comes to business and what we see and what we've heard from the amount of businesses that we actually talk to, that we work with. And I do believe that one of the main things that we want to do is make sure you get back on track, but make sure that you get back on track to where it meets your needs, not the needs of someone else. Because listen, everybody has an opinion. Everyone has something that they're sharing, and they say, well, I think you need to do that. This, I think you need to do that. I think that you need to come in and make an assessment of what makes sense to you and your business. Nobody knows your business better than you, and nobody knows your customers better than you. This actual webinar will be, Kimani, it actually is going to be available on YouTube. Brianna's going to send a link. She's also going to send a link with the presentation. Our emails are on there. Feel free to reach out to us. One of the things that we keep saying is that we make ourselves available. You would be amazed at the amount of people that have questions because they've overthought everything. And sometimes it's one of the simplest questions to answer, because listen, we live and breathe this. We've been doing a lot of these webinars, but we've been talking to a lot of businesses. And once again, we want to make sure that you stay afloat and thrive and move forward. So if there aren't any questions, I know some of you have other things that you need to do. Feel free to reach out to us. Feel free to engage with us in a conversation. We'll be more than happy to answer. And if you have any needs, please, the SBDC has their consultants, no cost to you. They're a resource partner with the SBA, and they've got a lot of resources. They've got other webinars and workshops as well. So Karen, Raju, final words, anything else that you may want to share?
Well, before we go, I saw Luis had raised their hand. I don't know if that was on purpose, if there was a question. I don't know how, because I'm not running the operation side of this, if Brianna can unmute Luis to ask the question.
Hey, Luis.
I don't know.
I'm attempting to unmute him, but I have to ask him to unmute.
All right.
Okay,
Here he is.
can you hear me now?
Please, yes.
Yes.
Okay. I have a very small business. I only have, it's a beauty shop with only 4 booths. And I only have 2 workers that at the time of the pandemic, and my business was not really making a profit. And so I applied for the loan, and I had to put down what I knew was the truth, and I ended up getting a loan, and it was only for $1,000. And I didn't know how to do that $1,000 because that wouldn't help me in the business. And now I only have the 2 workers that I have. I only have like 1 now, and my business is totally going down the drain because it's a small, very small business. I didn't know to put in the PPP loan because I was so hurt that I only got $1,000 and it was approved for $1,000. I don't know where to go from here.
Yeah. And Louise, was the $1,000 the advance that the idle loan was given? That's the first thing I wanted to ask, because I know that they were giving $1,000 per employee up to 10,000. So was that something that they deposited directly into your bank account, or was that an email that you received from the SBA stating that you had been approved for only 1,000?
That was a loan because I finally, after calling them and waiting a long time online, they said, you got approved for a loan, but I said, well, $1,000 really is not going to help me. But they said, well, it was a loan. And so now you have to go through the bank and try and rehire people. And then maybe the bank can give you a loan. But then I was told that if you're not showing a profit, how are you going to, get a loan from a bank?
Yeah. And Louise, listen, I'm actually going to, you see my email on there? Send me an email, send me your number, and be more than happy to talk to you and provide some guidance and so forth. Because we need to just verify if they're saying that you had to go to the bank. I'm trying to figure out if it was a PPP loan that you were actually approved for, or the idle loan that you actually were applied for and so forth. And Marcia, I know that you have a question. So
I want to speak to Luis's question as well. I actually just talked to somebody recently that's in almost the same boat, minus the loan issue. And she has a salon, and it's just her and somebody else in the salon. And they've been trying to keep it afloat for years, but now, with this pandemic, they couldn't. And she actually made the decision to pack up, and she spoke to her customers. So going back to what we were talking about, speaking to your customers, understanding their needs, the ones that are still coming to the beauty shop, she spoke to them and said, I can't keep paying the rent here. It's not making sense. I'm going to move all my equipment home. I have, a garage or whatever the setup is, and I'm going to move the salon there. Would you still come? And they said yes. And I mean, she might lose some people, but this is the way that she's trying to save her business and keep it afloat. So is it optimal? No, but this is kind of, this is difficult times, and people are trying different things to try to keep their business afloat and try to keep food on the table. And so now she knows that every single person that comes in the salon, that money goes in her pocket rather than going to rent, water bill, electric bill for the rented salon space that's not making any money. So it's hard, but there's ways to adapt. So just want to make sure that you think of all the ways that you can adapt and still get back on track and make some money.
yeah, and I'm glad you shared that, Karen. And Louise, like I said, send me your phone number. Just send me an email, and I'll be more than happy to talk to you offline and get more information. And then if anything, we can get Raju involved and so forth to assist you.
Okay, so who am I speaking
Orlando. It's Orlando. I'm sorry. This is Orlando.
with? Okay.
Listen, write my number down
Okay.
and send me a text message, and then I'll save your number. I get a lot of spam, but it's 305 609
609
1142.
1140.
And send me a text message and say, hey, this is Louise, and I can go ahead and save the number because with all these spam callers, my phone doesn't ring.
Okay, give me the first part of the phone number again.
305.
305.
Right.
305 609 1142.
That's the best number to get a hold of me.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll do that.
All right, thank you, appreciate it. And a question we have from Marsha, fashion designer, notary public, and in network marketing, doesn't have a solid plan for any of them. Any suggestions of where she can actually begin? Where can we assist and help? She does everything, and she has a one part-time assistant due to lack of funds.
Well, I can answer, or at least assist her to answer that question. Is I would suggest her to contact the SBDC and use some of our resources from the business plan that will help you guide, at least start the process. They will ask you the questions that you need to answer and how you can start the process. A lot of it is starting, asking the right question, and I think so we can all help you with that process.
Absolutely, and I'll add on to that, not only have I used the resources at SBDC, I've also used the resources at SCORE. And my local SCORE, assigns a mentor, but if you don't like your local SCORE mentor that you're assigned, they have online mentors. I've done video chats with mentors all around the country who had very specialized knowledge that I wanted to help me with like the federal contracting side of my business and different pieces. So just know that there's tons of free resources. You should not be paying for any help right now, not while you're not making money and you're just trying to get them going with a lack of funds. So SBDC and SCORE, sometimes SBDC and PTAC are one and the same, depending on where you live. Sometimes they're different. So also look up your local PTAC. I don't know what PTAC stands for off the top of my head. I'm sure Brianna knows something technical assistant, something, but PTAC, PTAC and SBDC as well as SCORE. Orlando, she's asking you to go back to the slide. I don't know which one that is.
Start planning. Which one was that one, Marsha? Let me see. Okay, right there.
And Marsha, Brianna will, she will let everybody know when she's put this up on the YouTube. And I think she also emails out the slides to everybody.
Yeah, and just as an FYI, I know that Karen is up in West Palm. Fort Lauderdale actually has resources. Take advantage of the resources. I know that they also have the Women's Business Center up in Broward. That you can actually, these are all resource partners with the SBA.
Yes, tons of resources, because in Broward, I use their SBDC too, because there's a guy there that has specialized knowledge that I ask him sometimes for help, Mike Bell. And so SBDC in Broward, I use all the time, even though I'm in Palm Beach County. There's the Women's Center. There's also in Delray, so that's not really Broward, that's Palm Beach County, but they have something called a TED Center, TED. So all of these are resources that I really suggest that you look into, because they have different types of people to help you with, depending on the status of your business, what you need help with, where you are with it, and those kinds of things.
Yeah, and take advantage of that, because one of the things that I will encourage you, I mean, the SBDC here in South Florida, that they cover Dade County and Monroe, and thank you for sharing that, Karen, because I think that that's one of the main things that, Marsha, you said you were up in Fort Lauderdale, and definitely you have, different resources that you can take advantage of. I will tell you that right now, when it comes to planning, you need to have someone that you can actually have a sounding board that you can communicate and talk to. There's great resources out there. Once again, Raju with the SBDC, you have other people within the SBDC that can actually assist and help you with business plan, with marketing, with all these other things. But to Karen's point, it's funny because I heard Karen, talking, and Karen is the type of person that you heard what she said at the beginning, that she's worked with Raju and Raju's helped her, and she's gotten everything taken care of with Raju. And she just spewed out all these other resources that she's actually used in order to scale and grow her business. Once again, you can't sit idle and you can't sit down and wait for someone to come in and hand you the keys to the city, because that doesn't exist. And you cannot expect someone to come in and give you the answers to everything for your business. Sometimes we have to definitely do a lot of the legwork, but use the resources that are out there and those that are made available to you. So if nobody has any other questions, I know it's about 10 minutes past, but I wanted to make sure that we got everybody, acclimated and we answer questions. Brianna is going to send out the actual presentation, the link. So Karen and Raju, any final words that you may want to share with? Raju, you look like you have a new office back there that's so organized.
Well, no, it's just still the same, just cleaned up a little bit. After all the paperwork from the different loans, it's just kind of cleaned up a little bit over the past few weeks. No, I just said, you have to plan more than ever, especially with the crisis going on. You have limited resources, and whatever resources you're getting are loans. They're more debt to your business. So you have to plan how you're going to pay them back. People have to realize it, that they're not gifts. They are actually, other than the PPP, if you do it the right way, it will turn out to be a grant. Fine, but the rest is a loan that is you're going to carry for a lot of years, and you need to kind of have a plan how you're going to continue forward with what you have.
So Raju, if I have any needs when it comes to finance or anything like that, can I sign up on the SBDC website and you help me with that?
Yeah, you can go to the SBDC site. You all already signed up in some form with the SBDC, so it would be great. And I'm not the only one. We have 18 consultants that we can help you in all the different areas of business.
All right, thank you. This was a paid advertisement, but no, I'm kidding. Karen.
Yeah, this was fantastic. And I just encourage everybody to reach out with their questions, use the resources that are there available to you. Find help, because here's the thing, when I have a question in my business, I figure out who would know the answer or what book has the answer. And if you don't like reading books, most books are on audio. They're free. The library has all these audiobook apps, Hoopla, Overdrive, Cloud Library. I figure out where would the answer be. And I find that person, that book, and I read it, I listen to it, I ask a question, rather than staying stuck. I just don't want to see anybody stay stuck. Don't sit there and feel helpless. You can get up and get moving and just move your business forward one little step at a time, and you'll get there. Just believe you will, and you will.
Yeah, and don't get discouraged. That's one of the main reasons why we're doing a lot of this stuff. Is next week we actually have 2 webinars. We're doing The Government is Still Buying at 1 o'clock, and at 1 o'clock, Karen. And then on Thursday, we have writing a winning proposal as well, for those of you that are looking to do government contracting. And then the following week, we're doing a guerrilla marketing workshop. And then one of my favorites is Breathe Life into Your Brand. That's one of the favorite workshops that I do. But I do believe that when all is said and done, we don't want this to be information overload. We want it to give more practical information. As business owners, been there, done that. And we've had moments where we feel like, the world's just crashing in on us, that we want to throw in the towel. But we always have that one person that we can talk to that can actually talk us off the ledge and encourage us and so forth. So thank you for taking your time to actually listen to us and to share. We look forward to hearing from you, and feel free to share your success, anything that you've been able to accomplish and so forth, but don't lose hope, and stay focused. And we're here to answer any questions. And thank you. Thank you, Brianna, Karen, Raju. Thank you, Julio. I know you couldn't make it. Thank you for sending the text and so forth. So looking forward to seeing a lot of you next week. Thank you.
Thank you.